بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على أشرف الأنبياء سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Are there any microphones for the cameras? So there's no microphones, so there's no need recording, because unfortunately when you come to what they call Bareilly masjids, they tend to cater more for the Naat than they do for this public speakers. All the microphones always echo. So there's something wrong with our microphone systems. Wherever I go, they cater for people like Jinn, and they don't give any importance to the speeches. So you tend to get echo wherever you go, and this is why when our recordings are uploaded on the internet, what happens is that all the recordings have echo inside of them. So then people can't listen to the recordings and not make sense. Now, of course, today's subject, which is Jinn possession, is one of those subjects which has been exploited by the peer culture within our community to such an extent that some people have become so rich of Jinn possession that they will own houses in areas like Edgbaston and many houses which will be worth £500,000 to £1 million. And people who came in this country in the 1950s and 1960s, who have been working for so long, have not been able to earn and own such houses, yet someone who claims to be a practitioner, an army, will become so rich of this subject, will become a wealthy, what we say, filthy rich. And of course, they will become filthy rich because much of their earnings are from filth. Why are their earnings from filth? Their earnings are from filth because they have duped a public which is unaware of this subject, which is known as Jinn possession. But Jinn possession also has a link to sihr, which is black magic, which is very rife and common in our community. In the Muslim community in the UK, practitioners who practice with jinn and who practice with sihr, magic, are rife in our community to such an extent that some people begin to think that those practitioners in fact are such people that are practicing this in the name of Islam, or using ruqya, which is from the Quran and Sunnah. Now, how they cover this is that on one end you have the Salafis claiming that they follow the Quran and Sunnah, so when they perform ruqya, the only group which is countering them, these false practitioners at the moment, is the Salafi movement. So what happens is that the false practitioners will say, of course, we are countering magic, and those people who are countering us are in fact Salafis, people who love shrines and people who disrespect the prophets and awliya. So therefore, what they claim is false, that we are not doing magic of any sort. Now, because of the Indian Pakistani subcontinent community, the ulama have been silent for far too long on many issues which we always discuss. Like even recently when the bombing happened in Karachi at a shrine, we know our scholars have been condemning suicide bombings and been condemning extremism, but at the same time, have they been condemning those things which have made extremism grow in our communities? Meaning, to talk about extremists without discussing the root cause of what makes someone an extremist is cognitive dissonance. Meaning a person is lying to himself. You can talk about the extremists, but if you do not cover the issue as to why people are becoming extremists, you will remain in cognitive dissonance. So you have, of course, people doing dahmal, dancing at the shrine and whatnot. This is what makes people become Salafis. Because the only alternative that they see is the Salafi movement, which is funded from Saudi Arabia. They see this is the standard bearer of the Quran and Sunnah. So we can talk as much as we want by saying they are wrong because of their disrespect for the prophets and for the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People do not understand these issues. The issues become too technical, too abstract for them to understand, that the only practical thing for them is what they see in their daily life. And one of those fields is this field, which is the field of ruqya, the field of jinn possession. That the only alternative for people is to turn to the Salafi movement, but not look at what the Sunni ulama have written, because in practical terms, meaning actively, what are we doing in order to counter this problem? Yes, we can talk theoretically, that theoretically speaking, our ulama have condemned this practice and this scholar has written this book, but practically what are we doing? Meaning, what practical steps have those scholars who discuss issues like the sectarianism in the Muslim world, what have they done practically to counter these practitioners? This is one aspect, but going on to the subject itself, which is jinn possession, we have two things to look at today, to examine. One is the person who is possessed, meaning the one who is the victim of the jinn possession. And one is analyzing the practitioner who he goes to. So these are two things which we need to analyze today, so people have an idea of this subject, meaning they have a good understanding of this subject. Some people will ask, why is this subject important? Do you do this subject? Some people are fickle like this. They will say, do you do this subject in order that people attend your lectures? You discuss jinn possession? The answer is no. Because on a daily basis, people who know me will know that on a daily basis, people contact me regarding jinn possession, regarding magic, regarding ayn, which is what we call nazar, which is the black eye. They contact me on a daily basis. So different people you meet on a daily basis. And from that experience that I have grown over the years, I will be lecturing on today. The first thing is the person who is possessed. Is jinn possession possible? This is the first question. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ الرِّبَى لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس. That those who consume riba, which is interest or usury, which is haram in Islam, prohibited, those who consume this, meaning they loan people money and then they take an extra amount from them, they loan them £100, they take £200 back. لا يقومون, they do not stand except like the one كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس, like the one that the shaitan has touched. Al-mas, he is touching, and يتخبطه, this, the ulama, if you check all the commentaries, or most of them, you check Qurtubi, you check others, they will mention this is in reference to Asrar. What is Asrar? Asrar is when a person can be possessed by a jinn. But now, why do some people end up rejecting this? Why they end up rejecting this? Of course, we have old philosophies of within Islamic sectarianism, like the Mu'tazila, who rejected the very concept of a shaitan possessing another human being. But there are also misconceptions that some people think if a man is possessed by a jinn, he will be walking around like an axe murderer, meaning he's possessed by a jinn and the jinn can control him like a doll is controlled. But this is not the case. In fact, when the jinn becomes present within the person, the jinn has very little ability in order to do anything. They can talk on the tongue of the person, and they can also converse as well as do subtle movements when the jinn is apparent in the person. What the jinn will not be able to do is make the person walk around possessing him like a zombie. What people observe in Hollywood movies. Meaning, so many people today have grown up on movies and watched these concepts on movies that they think jinns are whatever they may see in movies. But the alim al-jinn, the realm of the jinn, is more subtle. So this verse of the Quran, if you check the commentaries of the Quran, you will find that they refer to this as being in reference to jinn possession. يَتَخَبَّطُهُ الشَّيْطَانُ مِنَ الْمَسِّ. But practically speaking, what do we know of this practically? Now when people come to me, there are a few types of people that come. Some of them may be arrogant regarding their knowledge of the jinn realm. They will think we have no knowledge of the jinn realm. So they will come and say things like, you have to be very careful because I have whole tribes of jinn inside of me. Tribes of jinn are fighting inside of me. But of course they do not realize that when they converse with me or the people around me observing will think that such a person is deluded. But also you have people who have social problems and mental issues, which is the majority of cases. The majority do unfortunately fall into this category. One young man contacted me regarding jinn problems and conversed with me regarding all the different practitioners he went to who had turned him away. Now the reason why they turned him away was because the young man had actual mental issues, meaning he had mental health problems. When I inquired regarding his background was such that he had issues with his father as a child, when his father may have beaten him and his mother, and his father left his mother, and then the father died, and this affected him mentally. Now when this affected his mental health, as he grew up, he had issues in interacting with people, he had a lack of social skills, and he was unable to converse with people in a manner without being perceived as being weird, being perceived as being weird. So when he went to different practitioners, what did those practitioners do? They turned him away. So when I checked him whether he actually does have any problems with shaitan or meaning jinn issues, the actual answer was he had no issues with jinns or black magic. But he did not like to hear the answer that he had no issues with jinn, and this also affected him. So many of them do not want to hear the fact that they do not have issues with jinn. But even if they have issues with jinn, sometimes when the jinn possesses them, what is possession? Like I said, possession is not what you observe in movies, like the jinn possessing a doll and then the doll will walk around killing people. No, these are concepts that Hollywood has been placing in people's mind. The correct concept of jinn possession is that jinn possession is subtle. Jinn possession itself is subtle. The person experiencing the possession will experience it more than the people observing. So someone who is possessed may feel the wasawis of the shaitan, meaning the whisperings of shaitan, but the people around him, when they observe, they will think he has mental health issues. So how do we make a distinction between mental health issues, which are very common, so common in our community, that most of our community, from the Indian subcontinent, Pakistan and India and Bangladesh, feel ashamed to report mental health to the doctors. Why? Because they don't want their child to be known as someone who has mental health issues. So drug addiction is very common as well. That we know different types of drugs are common. That some youth are under the impression that if they smoke marijuana or weed or these different types of drugs, they think that these drugs will have no long-term effect. When in reality, the long-term effect will be schizophrenia. So a few days ago, someone came to me about a jinn problem, and when I checked him, when I read the ruqya on him, he had no jinn problem. Prior to that, I had asked him, have you smoked drugs in the past? He said no. Then he said only a little. Now, how much is a little? Meaning one cigarette of drugs a day is little to him. But the long-term effect of smoking 365 cigarettes of drug throughout the year, the long-term effect is that it can cause mental issues. Now the drug problem, of course, is a different issue, but as we know, growing up in these areas, and I'm not of the opinion of having a soft approach to drug dealers. Let me make this clear. Some imams and sheikhs are saying they are sinners, you should be soft with them. No, you should be soft with the drug addict, not with the drug dealers. Drug dealers are not heroes. Pimps are not heroes. You can be soft when giving da'wah to the prostitutes. When you give da'wah to the prostitutes, like Imam Badruddin al-Hasani gave da'wah to the prostitutes, he was soft with the prostitutes, not to the pimps. So there are some imams and sheikhs who try saying, regarding me, that I may be too harsh on drug dealers, but the reason why I am harsh on drug dealers is because drug dealers cause fasad, corruption in our community. Be soft on the drug addicts. There's a big difference between a drug dealer and a drug addict. What you end up doing is you make heroes of drug dealers. So you give this special attention to drug dealers. If drug dealers do tawbah, they must give all their wealth away, the wealth that they make from haram. And if they die without doing tawbah, then I mentioned this in Lawzal's masjid, that you do not pray their funeral prayer, drug dealers, not drug addicts. And this hurt the feelings of a lot of people, because there's a distinction between a dealer and an addict. Now, with the addict and the prostitute, you have a soft approach. Or the person who drinks alcohol, but the one who sells alcohol to him and destroys his house, there must be a harsh approach. This is fiqh and jurisprudence. But of course, people do this in order to bring drug dealers close to themselves. Like we had an imam in one of the masajid, he had a circle of former drug dealers around himself, and then they had a gangster approach. You have gangster imams as well. People have these type of people around them, and then they draw in people. So what happens to these youth is when they smoke these drugs, they may have mental issues. So what we are mentioning here is we're cutting off the people who have mental health issues. Those are not jinn possession. So someone may ask, how do you even know that this person has a jinn? How do you check him? Well, the answer is through Al-Quran al-Kareem. Through Al-Quran al-Kareem, meaning you recite Al-Quran al-Kareem, you recite the ruqya, which has been mentioned by the ulama, which is from the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. What is the ruqya? There are some verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, the first few verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayatul Kursi, the last few verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, then different verses of the Quran, like from Surah Al-Safat, and other chapters of the Quran, the Mu'awwidhatayn, which is Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. When you read this will have an effect on the person who is actually possessed, and this effect is observable. Now someone may say, the person may say that the person could be acting, it could be an act. This happened in the one jinn case, because of course, citing the Quran and Hadith, we know what the proof is from the Quran and Hadith, but we need practical knowledge of this also. So one practical case was, I went to a house in Smoli, where a young man, at every Maghrib time would collapse. When Maghrib time would enter, the young man would collapse. So they said to me, he has jinn possession. Now I met the young man. The young man was softly spoken and very well mannered. So I read one of the chapters of the Quran. There is a chapter of the Quran which you recite and you blow on certain parts of the human body, like the ears, the face. And what will happen at a particular point is that if the person is possessed, the person will collapse and the jinn will speak. So there is a chapter of the Quran that does this. So I recited that chapter of the Quran. Now what someone may say, why don't you mention the chapter of the Quran? The reason is because the practitioner, the person who practices this, must fulfill certain conditions. And also, by opening up the manafid, meaning the openings of the person, meaning the person who is possessed, he has openings where the jinns enter from. If you open those openings and the jinn will start speaking, there is a possibility of other jinns entering the body, as well as the jinn speaking on a regular basis, because you've opened up those passages. Now, the person is a skeptic. Someone recently said that jinn possessions do not happen. The person who is a skeptic, there was a person who was a skeptic in that gathering. So we were in the front room of the house. I recited the chapter of the Quran. The young man collapsed. When the young man collapsed, how he collapsed was he was sitting on the sofa and he started to fall to one side and then he rolled over and fell on the floor. I continued reciting the ruqyah. When I started conversing with the jinn inside of him, the young man, his eyes open, and when we say the jinn converses, remember some people tend to think the jinn comes out and you see a spirit. No, no one sees this actual spirit. In fact, Al-Imam Shafi'i radiallahu anhu was of the opinion that it is impossible to see the jinn in full form. This is of course mentioned by Ahkam Marjan, Ahkam Jan, but it is possible. It is possible to see the form of the jinn. It is possible, but in certain scenarios. But in these cases of ruqyah, the jinn will start speaking on the tongue of the victim. So the human being will speak, but the voice will change. Now some people will say this is a mental issue, meaning the person you are reciting the ruqyah on, the person has a mental issue and is pretending that he has a jinn. This is what some people will say. When I started conversing with the jinn said it was Christian and the conversation was long. There were some people present, witnesses in that room. The electric cut off, meaning the light went out. So the light went out and then the light started flickering. And of course people became frightened in the room, so no one would come near him except me. So when I needed their help, because what happens is the person becomes like a dead body except that their face will speak. Of course it is not an act. The person is not acting. If you observe this, if you are in the room, you will realize that the person is not acting. When I had diagnosed that this person actually does have a jinn problem, and the young man was not a former drug addict, he did not come from a broken family. Not that anyone who comes from a broken family, everyone who comes from a broken family has a mental issue. Of course not. This would be falling into a stereotype. But sometimes when people have parental issues, those parental issues sometimes may lead to a mental illness. In some cases. But what happened then was one of the relatives who was present in the room later on said to me that I know this person and I think he was acting in front of you, that the whole thing was an act. Now, if it was an act, I do not know how he would have made the lights go on and off. But I said to him, tomorrow I will read the ruqyah on him again, but this time I will pretend to read the ruqyah. Meaning, when I recite to myself, I will pretend to recite a ruqyah at the point where he collapsed, which is the point where he would have collapsed. Remember, the person, I never tell them at what point the jinn will speak. So if the person even knows that I am reciting a certain chapter of the Quran and they were acting, they would know at what point the jinn should speak. But this person was unaware. So the next day I pretended to recite the ruqyah. And when I pretended to recite, the person did not collapse. Then I recited the ruqyah again for real. And again at that point the person collapsed. Now the person's case was resolved. But the point from this, why I mention this distinction, is to make a clear distinction between jinn possession and those who are not possessed. In some cases, after someone is free from jinn possession, what will happen is that the jinn may have caused physical harm to their body, physical and mental harm. So, if they are mentally affected by the jinn possession, which the jinn now becomes, in some cases the jinn becomes dormant, meaning the jinn no longer remains active in the person. And in other cases, the jinn, when the person is cured, the mental effect of what the jinn did to the human being will remain. In some cases, unfortunately, the mental effect will remain for life. This is for two reasons. One is that people tend not to go to mental therapists? How are people tend not to accept psychiatry? A bit like Scientologists. I mean, the way Scientologists reject psychiatry, how people tend to think that therapy or counseling is something bad. But in reality, therapy and counseling is a part of Islam. How the earliest therapists and psychiatrists were Muslims, like Ibn Sina. He, of course, he had aqidah problems, but when one of the caliphs, the prince, his son, the prince is one of the king's sons, started to think he was a goat. He had a mental issue. Of course, it's not funny because people, when they have mental issues, there are people in mental health institutes who start thinking they are animals. He thought he was a goat, so what Ibn Sina did, he was fed him lettuce, loads of lettuce, until he became sick of lettuce and was cured. The point is that if you read early literature, Islamic literature, mental health was a part of Islam. So, apart from curing these people, what the practitioners need to do is give them, after they are cured, they need mental health counseling. They need therapy. Meaning, if you cure them and they give what they call nadrana, this is in our culture, people give nadrana. So, he may not have even done anything and they give a nadrana. A few days ago, a young man came to me to ask about someone's name, if he has magic or not, and he gave £20. He had £20, and I said to him, what is this £20 for? And he said, the family said, we must give something. And I said, give something for what? So, of course, I returned the £20, meaning there was nothing done. So, but the culture is that they just give nadrana and nothing is done. So, even checking, once they cure the person, in some cases they don't cure the after effect, meaning the physical harm that was done to the person. Sometimes if the practitioner is not good enough, they may make the victim a person in which multiple jinn groups fight. So when they have the victim, because the practitioner is not good, multiple jinns end up fighting inside of the person will suffer physically. They will have physical fatigue. And therefore, after they are supposedly cured, what will end up happening? That the person will have some physical ailment where he will be unable to be practical in daily life. So, again, the victim, the person who is possessed needs to be assessed correctly. So when they come with these issues, so many people come, the person, the practitioner is not assessing the people correctly. This is very common. Meaning, we have so many houses within these areas, in Sparkwood, Sparkhill, Smallheath, and Muslims and non-Muslims are practitioners. They've made their front rooms into rooms of where people, like a clinic. And recently there was the fraudulent case of the man claiming to be a Sayyid who slept with the women, meaning the women would come to him, and then what did he do? He ended up sleeping with them, and this was exposed all over Birmingham Mail and national media. But what they do is they open clinics in their front rooms. So when the people come to see them, they do not check their case correctly. What is checking their case correctly? Meaning, even if the person is not sleeping around with the person who comes to see him, it does not necessarily mean he's not a fraud. Because when the person comes to be checked, if they are curing everyone who comes to them, someone comes off alcohol. When he comes off alcohol, some people come off alcohol, what happens is that their mind, because the mind was addicted to alcohol, the mind will start speaking to them. The mind is a very powerful thing. The mind is so powerful that delusion is very common in people. The delusion caused by the mind. Even these false meditation groups, what they call, where they claim that their soul comes out of the body, this is in fact a trick of the mind. I can show you how they do it. There's a method of doing it where they use the senses of the body, which tricks the mind into thinking that the soul is coming out of the body. And when I asked Sayyid Abbas bin Alawi rahimahullah ta'ala regarding this, he said this is a trick of the shaitan. This is not the soul. This is nothing to do with Sufism. It's a trick of the mind. So the mind is a very powerful thing. how a person uses the mind. And then later on I found this exact same quote from Imam Abdul Wahab al-Sha'rani, rahimahullah, one of the great Sufi scholars, who said that the people who see their souls floating, they are being deceived by shaitan, meaning the mind is being used to deceive them. So they do not check whether so what happens, the person drinks alcohol and his mind will start playing tricks on him. So you may hear actual whisperings. What are actual whisperings? Some are actual thoughts. So wasawis, the thoughts will come in the person's mind. Wasawis are categorized into numerous categories. Some of those categories are like wasawis are kufr. So the mind or the jinn will say two things whisper. One is the mind, the nafs, and one is the jinn. The way to tell the difference between the two is the recurring one is the mind. The one that recurs is the mind. The one that comes and goes is the jinn. So there are two types of whispering. So what the jinn will, or the shaitan, because jinns have different names, if a jinn becomes evil, it is known as a shaitan. When a jinn affects a child, it is known as a ruh. When the shaitan becomes more evil, he is known as ifrit. There are different titles given to the same thing. The person will start having thoughts in his mind after coming off alcohol. What will the parents do? They will say to him, take him to the local pir or take him to the army. And these people tend not to go to one person. They do not trust one person. Why? Because they look for a quick fix. Everyone who has a jinn problem, most of the people who have jinn issues, most of them look for quick fixes. Of course, when we have physical ailments, we go to the doctor and the doctor gives us a medicine, and you take the medicine and the medicine cures us after some time. What people tend to do is that when they have jinn problems, they want to go to the practitioner, and the practitioner will just, what they expect is that the practitioner will just read a ruqyah on them and the jinn will come out. But when this doesn't happen, they lose patience and they go to the next practitioner. Then they hear of another practitioner and they go to him. What the practitioners then do is that they attempt to cure everyone who comes to them without analyzing the person who has come to them. Meaning, is the whispering that the person is having an effect of something that he has been taking or his lifestyle? Is the effect, has his mind been affected in any way by anything else like religious experiences? Do you know some religious experiences which non-Muslims have and some Muslim groups also do are caused by the mind? Meaning, if you are suspended in a room, or a dark room for so long, of course your mind will start playing tricks. I'm not saying this, Imam Abdul Wahab al-Sha'rani rahimahullah says this. He says that some people, they will stay in a room hungry for days. They will start seeing things. Some people, they will stay in a darkened room. If you have sensory deprivation, your senses are deprived of anything for a long time, your mind will start hallucinating. So the person must check, are these people hallucinating? Is their mind playing tricks on them or not? They must check everything. Once everything has been checked and they think the person is mentally fit, sometimes you may have a combination of a jinn issue, a sihr issue, and a mental issue. So the combination of the two. Now one such practitioner I observed in Al-Madinah al-Munawwarah was once when I went to Umrah, I met an individual who was sitting in Al-Masjid al-Nabawi and he was claiming to be a Sufi Shaykh, someone who had been licensed, and what he would do, he would play these mind tricks on people. One such mind trick was, when I arrived, he said to me, can you hold this medallion? He gave me a medallion to hold. When I held the medallion, he said after a while, he said, give me the medallion. He didn't know who I was. He didn't know I've been around to multiple witch doctors, different peers, and I've studied this whole subject. So when I gave him back the medallion was warm. Now why was the medallion warm? Because we're in Al-Madinah al-Munawwarah where the weather is hot, and I've been carrying the medallion in my hand. The medallion was warm. He said, this medallion is hot because of your fiery nature, and therefore you have a fiery nature, and he made all this explanation regarding a fiery nature and what I need to do. This, of course, was a trick of the mind. Another person came to him and he said to the person, you need to go on a Zamzam cleanser. What is a Zamzam cleanser? He said, go get a large container of Zamzam and drink the Zamzam and keep drinking until you vomit and all the impurities of the spiritual impurities will come out. Now, of course, anyone, if he drinks a container of Zamzam or any water, will end up puking, because this is the way the human body is. But these type of people end up giving someone who already has a mental illness, they compound the problem for them. One young man was such a man who had this problem, he started sitting in cold bathtubs and listening to Naat on the headphones. This was before the iPhone, when they had Walkmans, you know, the old cassette players, and he started listening to Naat on. He already had mental health issues, but the person he was going to was causing more problems for him. Why? Because they did not check the person correctly. And of course, this is also done by mental health therapists as well, like non-Muslim therapists, who make a person believe he had former lives. So when they are hypnotized, they start thinking they had former lives, and they trick the mind into thinking these things. So it's done by non-Muslims also. So mental health and jinn issues, jinn possession, are very closely interlinked. Most of the people who are possessed by jinn do not like hearing this. So when they come to see you and they tell you regarding their experience, if you dismiss their experience as being a trick of the mind, they will not like to hear those words. So it's not always the right thing to say to someone. Meaning, you may advise them what to do, but it is not always the right thing to do to tell them that they actually have the jinn possession has caused mental health issues. So this is in terms of the victim. Now let's say you have two types of people who are possessed. One is a person who is possessed, but the possession is intertwined with a mental issue. The second type is a person who is possessed, but they do not have mental health issues. These are easier to deal with. The second type is easier to deal with. When you get a combination of the two, what you will have is a person who will regularly phone you and regularly come to see you. They become addicted to the practitioner. Now, because the predators, the practitioners, some of them are predators, who notice this vulnerability in our community, what they do then with the vulnerable person is that they make them addicted to them. Meaning, they will come on a regular basis for a cure. So the person will go for a cure, he will feel good for a while, but then when he feels bad again, he will go back. And each time, they will give what we call nazrana. So they give £100, £200. In some cases, the prices go high. Like one practitioner, a young man, and this is another local case, a young man had mental health issues because of drugs. His father went to some of these practitioners, they placed in pots. He told them, place in pots lentil seeds. Place lentil seeds in pots. Take these pots to a certain area in a forest and bury these pots. So they went and done that. Then he said, go to the sea on a full night, something like a full moon. When the moon is over the sea, you must take water from that sea and place it in the container. And you must make sure none of the water drops, none of the water spills. So they drove back from the sea all the way back to Birmingham or London or wherever they went. And then at the end, the person took around £15,000. I think the person told me around £15,000, and the person was not cured. So these are the type of practices they make people do. Now the practitioners, when we analyze the practitioners, we've analyzed the victims. Of course, what the victims go through, we can go into more detail. For instance, how do they experience jinn? Most of them will experience the jinn at the time of sleeping. Why? Because sleeping is a realm which is where the person is sleeping in this world, but his soul will go to Alamul Mithal. So it's a subtle realm. The world of sleep is a subtle realm, and because the world of sleep is a subtle realm, this is why, of course, in dream, when people have dreams of things and dreams have interpretations, they only have interpretation because those dreams are from Alamul Mithal. So, for instance, someone seeing milk in Alamul Mithal means knowledge. Someone seeing clothes, it means Iman. Clothes in this realm are clothes, but Iman takes a different form in Alamul Mithal, and this is how the science of dream interpretation works. But in that realm, when a person sleeps, they will experience the jinn realm also. So they may dream certain things, but they will be affected by the jinn. And there are cases of where jinns have had illicit relationships as well with the victims. This does happen, and it's also in English culture as well. If you check succubus, which is a type of ghost in English myth, English folklore, but in reality it is a type of jinn that affects the person. Now when the person is affected like this, they can become fatigued, and they will have other ailments. One of those ailments is fatigue, that they will have regular fatigue. They will not feel energetic, and they will always feel unable to do things. And this then starts affecting them mentally. So when they speak to someone, that person, the practitioner, should be very experienced in knowing how to make the distinction between what is the mental health aspect and what is the actual jinn possession. Now the practitioners, on the other hand, they have many different ways of tricking people. One of which we mentioned previously was the method of hazari. Now what happens with this hazari, which is from hadara, which means to present something, is that they claim that they present the souls of different saints. In some cases they would say the soul of Asif bin Barkhia, who is the person who was in the court of Sayyiduna Sulaiman alayhi salam. But of course this is trickery. There is no presentation of souls, because this in reality is an insult to the soul of Asif bin Barkhia, that a man who lives in Smolid or Sparkbrook or Sparkhill or these areas will be calling the soul of Asif bin Barkhia from Palestine, from his grave to these areas. This is of course an insult to Asif bin Barkhia, an insult to the Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam. But what do? One case that we dealt with was that the person had certain problems in the house. We went to the house. I was called to the house. When I went, he had called another practitioner. Now, when he called that practitioner, and that person pretended to recite something, or was actually reciting, and had a cup of water, and then the cup of water spilled all over him. So the water went all over him, and everyone in the room became frightened. Now me, of course, I thought that this was an act on the part of the reciter, because if you are a proper practitioner, meaning you follow the Quran and Sunnah, the jinn will not be able to touch you like that. The jinn will not be able to touch you like this. So after having recited and the water went all over him, he went upstairs and he started shouting in the rooms, and then he claimed that he had cleansed the house of the jinn. Now this is of course all trickery, mind over matter. So this same family then went to another practitioner, and they took me along because they just wanted me to observe. And of course these are experiences which helped me learning regarding this subject. What the practitioner ordered them to do was bring a child, and when you bring the child, make the child take a bath and wear clean clothes, and then when the child comes, make the child wear a blindfold. And then he recited something, and he blew, and he said to the child, "Do you see anything?" And the child said, "Yes." Of course, when they done this, I was not present, but I asked the person later, "What did they do?" And they told me. And the child then said, "What is wrong is this, and what is wrong is that," meaning telling the whole narrative. What is this practice? This practice they call hazari. Of course, the ulama say that hazari is impermissible in Sharia. This hazari is impermissible in Sharia. From my investigation, this was over 12, 13 years ago, I traveled to Bradford just to inquire regarding this science. Meaning I traveled different places, even in Syria, I asked ulama regarding this practice. At the end, I found the mention of this practice in the books of Imam Ahmad al-Khan, rahimahullah. There is a book some people ascribe to Imam Ahmad al-Khan called Shaykh Raza, which is found in all these bookshops. If you go to these Urdu bookshops, you'll find so many books on Amliyat, some are called Amil al-Kamil, and different names. The question is, are these books permissible or not? And is the book Shamastani Raza a valid book that is ascribed to Imam Ahmad Khan? The answer is no. The book is not valid, and the book is not legitimately ascribed to Imam Ahmad Khan rahimahullah ta'ala. But so what is this practice of Hazari? In reality, most of the practitioners of Hazari, what they do is a trick. The actual thing is a trick. What happens, because the child has a simple mind, what they would say to the child is think of a maidan, meaning think of an area. The child will think of a masjid. When they think of a masjid, they will say, are the people coming? The child will imagine people coming. Then they will say, ask, do you see the man with the old beard? The child will imagine a man with an old beard. Then he will ask the man with the old beard, but regarding the ghaib, regarding the unseen. So how can this child have access to the soul of a person and ask him regarding the unseen when the person who is reciting himself cannot ask? So how can you trust a child when in Ulum al-Hadith, they even tell us in Ulum al-Hadith that even the hadith of a child, if he's unable to discern, his hadith is not accepted. If his hadith from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not accepted because we cannot discern, why would we accept the news of the unseen where the child will tell us that this money is hidden over there, or this relative stole the money, or this relative was the one who did magic? This practice is impermissible. So like this, there are so many different practices which the Amil has. When we analyze the victim and then we analyze the Amil, the question is what practices are permissible, and how do people with jinn possession actually get cured? How would they get cured? How do they attain cure? Most of the time, what I have observed with the people with jinn possession is that when you tell them to take a cure from the Quran and the Sunnah and from Tawheed, most of them suffer from lack of yaqeen, lack of certainty. They will have more certainty in false practitioners than they have in the cure from the Quran and the Hadith. Meaning, if someone's house is affected by jinn, in some cases the house becomes affected by jinn. There is an authentic hadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Surah Al-Baqarah is not recited in any house for 3 days except Shaitan leaves that house and it destroys magic. And the hadith states, لا يستطيعها البطلة, that the magicians are unable to counter Surah Al-Baqarah. Meaning it is so powerful that the magicians are unable to counter Surah Al-Baqarah. So if someone recited Surah Al-Baqarah or had Surah Al-Baqarah recited in the house every day, Surah Al-Baqarah would destroy any magic. But when you tell the people this, they lose heart due to a few reasons. One is lack of certainty in the Quran and the Hadith. And number two is because they do not want to do anything practical to cure themselves. So what they wanted, in fact, was the person to write something, a ta'weez, and say, just place this around your neck. And they would place that around their neck thinking that the ta'weez is protecting them. But when you tell them to recite Surah Al-Baqarah or have Surah Al-Baqarah recited in the house, they will be unable to do so. This would become difficult. In fact, so many of the people who have these ailments, when they come to the practitioners, they themselves do not practice Islam. Meaning the women do not have hijab. When hijab is a fard in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders the women to wear the jalabib. Meaning hijab is not just a headscarf like so many Muslim women think today. They wear the headscarf and then their clothes at the bottom will be revealing. This is not hijab. Hijab is what? Wearing the jalabib, which is wearing the covering that covers the breasts and the figure of the woman, and then wearing the headscarf. So you may have a woman who will be modest in all her garment except she has no headscarf, and yet you may have a woman who wears a headscarf but all her body is revealing. So some of these women, when they go, they will not be wearing hijab. And the men, they will not be praying 5 times a day. They will not have any knowledge of the Quran, any knowledge of the Sunnah, meaning not any knowledge of even Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. Meaning they will be unable to recite Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. This practitioner should tell them to go and at least learn Mu'awwidhatayn. Meaning, go to the masjid, find an imam and at least learn Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. But do they tell the people to do that? The answer is no. You know this. What will they do? They will write these number ta'weez. Now, what is the legal ruling on number ta'weez? Most of them, when they write these number ta'weez, take these number ta'weez meaning using a ta'weez with numbers. So much of our public is under the impression that number ta'weez is an aqidah issue. Tell the truth, how many of you thought that number ta'weez is an issue of difference between Salafis and Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah? How many of you thought this? Or were you told that if you don't believe in number ta'weez, it's a position of the Wahhabis? How many of you were told this? No one. Or were you told? Yes, some people placing their hands up. In reality, number ta'weez is nothing to do with the differences between Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah and the Salafi movement. It falls under fiqh differences. Because there are Sunni scholars who said number ta'weez are impermissible. And there are those scholars who said they are permissible with certain conditions. So it's nothing to do with aqidah, it's more to do with fiqh. But the problem is that what these practitioners do is that when they take these number ta'weez, they buy these books from Urdu bookshops. If you go to Urdu bookshops, you find so many Arabic books. That what they do is they take these books, they find a naqsh. Naqsh is a form. So the naqsh will say how to cure this illness, how to cure that illness, or how to become rich. Because that's a favorite. How to become rich, how to make your business good. So what they will do then is that they will write the naqsh from that and give this to the person. The person will place it in his pouch and they go home. This is how this has developed. So in reality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may have ordained for that person to receive a job on Monday. And this person went to a practitioner a month before. The practitioner gave him a ta'weez, he bought a ta'weez. A month later, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was the one who ordained for him to have a job. When he receives the job, he says, this is the karam of Peace Sahib. This happens. There are so many practitioners. There's one practitioner who said, whenever anything would happen, he would say, Bawaji na karam, Bawaji na karam, Bawaji na karam. Anything would happen, Bawaji na karam. Meaning, this Bawaji, that he says Bawaji na karam, was a man who, they claim, he lived in a grave for a while. When he lived in a grave, and he would drink sewer water and eat worms for a while, and they thought this is zuhad, meaning abstinence from the world. This is their Bawaji. But if you analyze Bawaji from the aspect of Sharia, Bawaji is living off najis, meaning impurity. So they would say Bawaji na karam, Bawaji na karam. Where is Tawheed? So when you emphasize Tawheed, what they tend to do is, because the opposition is mainly Salafis, they would say those people are Salafis. But when the person speaking is a Sunni alim, they are unable to say that anymore. Meaning, the person who comes to you, first teach them Tawheed, that An-Nafi' is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who benefits. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ad-Dar, the one who harms. This is one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you teach people Tawheed, and then you teach them the fiqh rulings, you say, look, you do not rely on ta'weed, because ta'weed is not what you have reliance on. Who do you rely upon? Upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who allowed for the jinn to possess you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who will remove the jinn possession from you. This is why in Sharia there is something known as Saddul Dharai. What is Saddul Dharai? Saddul Dharai is a means by which, if you know doing something permissible will lead to something impermissible, the scholars say you stop doing that permissible act. This is known as what? Saddul Dharai. If you know that something permissible will lead to people doing impermissible act, you stop them. This is why Sayyid Alawi al-Maliki, rahimahullah, the father of Sayyid Muhammad bin Alawi, he said that musical instruments, even though there are a group of scholars who said Sama is permissible, he said for Saddul Dharai, in this day and age, we should say that musical instruments are all haram. Why? Because allowing people to use certain musical instruments will lead them to allowing other impermissible musical instruments. This same fatwa, Saddul Dharai, must be applied in this jinn practitioner. Meaning, when people counter jinn, when the ulama differ on a certain practice, we need to put saddu dharai and limit to those practices. So where do we go back to then, and where do we take our countering the jinns? We go back to the Quran, that people who have jinns must learn surah. How many of them really know mu'awwidhatayn? You'll be shocked how many people have not memorized Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. You will be shocked how many people have not memorized Ayatul Kursi. So because they cannot sit down and learn Ayatul Kursi, they would love to be addicted to P-side. Why? Because when they go to P-side will just say to them what they call tapra in this tapra culture. And you go to P-side with one tapra, you're cured. So mentally the person will feel good for a few weeks. Then he goes back and he'll say to P-side, and then P-side will write him a ta'weez, he'll face the ta'weez, and then he'll go back to his daily life, missing prayers, committing haram, not changing anything of his lifestyle. So this is a very important aspect of our culture, which is ingrained in our community, that needs to change. That people have this, when they have these problems, they will go to the P-side and they expect a quick cure without changing anything in their lifestyle. Secondly, of course, the basics of Islam, which I mentioned, like the women wearing hijab is a fard for the women, and men praying 5 times a day and having modesty and not committing haram, leaving those haram habits. If the person is earning haram, the P-side must tell him, your earnings are haram. And in fact, some practitioners who are good practitioners will tell you, when they started making jinn clinics, meaning allowing to cure people, they went to other countries. Someone told me this recently, and the poor people would be placed at the back of the queue. The people who would be allowed to the front of the queue were the people who were well off. So the person who owns certain businesses, he owns supermarkets and takeaways and factories and different things. He has a jinn problem in his family. The murids will chaperone him to the front, and he will have full access to P-side. Why? Because when P-side will give him his tapa and will be cured, this is now a cow that he owns, and the cow he can milk multiple times. But the poor man, he will be placed in the back of the queue. So this is, of course, how these jinn clinics are running currently. So what do people need to go back to? What they need to go back to is Al-Quran Al-Kareem and learning the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Meaning, before you have any of these cures, if when you go to P-side and P-side is not telling you to pray 5 times a day because you're missing the prayers, he's not telling you to pray 5 times a day, he is not telling you to get rid of the haram in your life, meaning you go to see him and you have jewelry on your hands. Imagine a man going to see a priest and he has gold rings and gold around his neck. Of course, when he tells you to take it off, it doesn't mean you give it to him. Yes? So if the P-side leaves the person with the gold on and he's missing prayers, and he just gives a quick fix, which is write him a ta'weez and give him the ta'weez, and then they have a Nazrana box, and the person places a Nazrana in the box, which is funding his mortgage, and then the person goes. Meaning that is an alarm bell ringing that the P-side is not a real P-side, because a real P-side would have firstly said that you are not praying 5 times a day, you are committing haram, impermissible acts, your earnings are haram, meaning the person owns an off license or a nightclub or a different earnings which are haram. The P-side is not telling you your earnings are haram. Why? Because those earnings are funding his lifestyle. Then that's the first warning sign. Secondly, if you are not learning the basics like Al-Mu'awwidhatayn, Surah Al-Falaq, Surah Al-Nas, Ayatul Kursi, which every Muslim should know, Surah Al-Ikhlas, reciting these every night. Sayyidatuna Aisha radiallahu anha states that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would recite different ta'widat. Ta'widat here meaning recitation of the Quran and different du'as, supplications. When Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas were revealed, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left everything else and would only recite Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas, meaning Al-Mu'awwidhatayn. So doesn't this show us that Mu'awwidhatayn are sufficient for us? Meaning, why is Al-Mu'awwidhatayn not sufficient for people today? The main reason being weakness in aqidah, weakness in aqidah. When we say aqidah, today so many of our public understand aqidah means kissing the tongue and placing them on the eyes. Or aqidah means doing jihad mishri. Yes, this is not what we're referring to when we say weakness of aqidah. We mean weakness in iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Weakness of tawheed, meaning learning the asma and sifat of Allah, names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Having firm belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-qadir al-mutlaq, the one who controls everything. So when you have weak iman and weak practice, meaning if we are not praying 5 times a day, our culture is not praying 5 times a day, we commit different types of muharramat, then of course the jinn problems will continue. So these are the ways of curing jinn problems. Then we have specific methods of curing, which are from the sunnah, which is one is the ruqya. Now what do they do with the ruqya? I'm trying to have 5 minutes. Okay, what they do with the ruqya is that once the ruqya has been recited and the person is possessed by the jinn, the raqi, the one who recites the ruqya, will ask the person, the jinn inside of the person, why are you inside of this person? And now the hitting of the victim is illegal in this country. So no practitioner should be beating up patients. So if the patient comes to recite and the ruqya on the person and the person collapses, unless you have previous permission, if you hit the person in the chest or you hit the person in the arm, this hurts the jinn. So the jinn will react, but this is illegal to do that. Not only that, it's haram for a man to do this to a woman. If a man recites a ruqya on a woman, it would be haram for him to touch the woman. So to touch the woman, women's issues are very important because so many men who are in high positions, imams and shaykhs and peers and different people in high positions, they have a responsibility like a doctor. But if a doctor wasn't a doctor, he wouldn't have access to so many women. So when you have access to women, those women become vulnerable. And so many of those women also have insecurities. So an imam, a shaykh, a peer, anyone of a high position has a responsibility regarding those women. So because they have responsibility regarding those women, they should not contact women on the phone. They should not meet women alone in private. They should not contact women via Facebook. They should not meet a woman except that it is in a public place and there is a mahram present. Meaning a male relative. If the woman doesn't have a male relative, like so many women who revert to Islam but they are vulnerable, they are still allowed to bring their non-Muslim relative if he is not against Islam. Like a young girl accepts Islam, the father allows her to accept Islam. You know, there are so many tolerant people in this society. The father accompanies the girl. So it's because the scandals that happen in our community happen due to these reasons. Of course, this subject needs more detail. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to return back to Tawheed, meaning learning true Tawheed, learning Iman, learning the correct Aqidah, belief, moving away from shirk, polytheism, moving away from bid'ah, innovation, and going back to the Quran and the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وأتوب إليه.